I would like to say that you should be smarter, but then how to be smarter when you think anything about how to improve intelligence, and that's about what I really know anything about how to improve the industriousness either, but I can tell that people who are industrious come up with a strategy for separating the problem that's ahead of them. If you know something about yourself, visit your bed, one inside yourself, you got to mean this like you got to be this bright, this no game. This what's one thing I'm doing wrong? That no I'm doing wrong. Not a good first. Not a good first. You meditate that you will answer and it won't be one you want, but it will necessary one. In this video, we will explore some his best kept secrets for maximizing focus and achieving long-term success, so that you can study smarter, not harder. Now to tell you to fix the thing you reach every day. Cause we'll teach you think about do as usual, right? You get up, you brush your teeth, you have your breakfast, you have your routines that you will go through every day, which will probably constitute 50% of your life. And we will think well this Monday and then to pay attention so that them not actually wrong. The thing you do every day, that's the most important thing you do. Hence now, all you have to do is really do the arithmetic. We make average of 35,000 decisions every single day. We can eventually lead to decision fatigue, a state of mental overload that can impede a person's ability to continue making decisions. As Macadam's Doctor Lisa Glenn explained, the more decisions you have to make, the more fatigue you have to develop and the more difficult it can become. This mental exhaustion can lead to poor choices, procrastination, or even to the tendency to avoid decisions altogether. One effective way to reduce decision fatigue is by simply following daily routine, such as planning meals in advance, maintaining a consistent wardrobe, or establishing through habit. Additionally, breaking the outcome less just into smaller, manageable steps can make decision making feel less overwhelming, helping individuals conserve mental energy for more important tasks. I can tell you that people not just come up with a strategy for solving their problem that's ahead of them, and then they do whatever they can do, just stick to the strategy and so as you sat there today or tomorrow for a couple hours, 3 hours, and you fill in a Google Calendar, whatever you happen to use with a strategy for studying and a list of when all your assessments are due and all your when you will choose to sit down and study. And then you won't be in a position where you have to cram for 10 hours a day hopelessly right before you know your important exam. That is a very effective way of studying, by the way. I'm in the first of people who cram for 10 hours saying they are studying for 10 hours, but they really are because they I can study for 10 hours. I don't have the level of concentration that would enable me to do that for that long a period of time. Again, it's about 3 hours intellectual activity before I'm ready done. I study process and functions in human neuroscience, product-based learning, where study sessions are spread out over time, can be just as effective as math learning. This approach enhances memory retention and recall by encoding information into long-term memory. Research by constantly show that students who are better at studying perform better on assessment taken weeks later compared to those who cram. In addition to space learning, getting enough sleep plays a crucial role in learning and memory. According to the Sleep Foundation, sleep deprivation hinders the brain's ability to create new pathways for recently learned information, making it harder to retain knowledge. And also the case that if you study in the sleep and the study in the sleep and the study in the sleep and the study, it's way down, then you won't be allowed to remember. Also, morally true that memory true. Remember, you try my recall material and so highlighting in that sort of thing is very useful. But reading, closing the book, summarizing what you read without opening the damn book, that's useful. And the reason for that is that you're practicing remembering, and that's what you have to practice. If you're practicing memorization, you have to practice remembering. You don't just go over the thing over. That will help you with recognition memory, but but it won't help you with recall memory. The best thing you can do is read and write every day, couple hours every day. Right about training you find important see if you can discover what you believe to be true, and that every operation and is unbelievably practical. Research published by Jackson V. Wastad from Brigham University explore how reading literary fiction enhances our personal ability to understand others, a skill known as the material mind. This refers to the human capacity to recognize that others have to believe and desire different from their own. In the study, participants were divided into groups and design different reading materials. Afterward, they took a test measuring their ability to perceive others' emotion. The research showed that those who read literary fiction scored significantly higher than those who did not read at all. So what seemed to happen in the story is that they distill. So they watch people watch people, and then they tell story about what they see. Believe a lot of those story, everything that's boring, hopefully. And then more story about starting things again, sort of educated, and then maybe a great writer come along and write something really interesting, profile characters information, and they say with efficient, and they say with that's true, because efficient, and then maybe that's not right, maybe it's more than true, because you want the truth. The truth is mundane reality, and you already got as matter, but you want is the distillation of interesting experience, and you might think why interesting. Well, that says you don't know. That's the thing. That's so cool. When you think about behavior, you tend to think about voluntary behavior, but motivational style will. This habit are activated depending on the situation. Autonomic response. So, for example, when you when you're food deprived, when you start to think about food and start to organize about your behavior toward food and perceive through the world that you that way your body but soul is ready for food, and so it's useful to think about as multiple style as micro personality. According to the article from Condition Today titled "The Scientific Truth Behind Fake It Till You Make It," mental imagery and actual perception say common neural circuits so they have different side firing dynamics. This phenomenon is explained by Saplon, which state that neurons have that fire together, wire together. In other words, if you do something in association with something else, the two things will get interlinked at the neural level. This principle highlights the brain ability to strengthen neural connection through repetition and association. For example, is when you repeatedly visualize themselves speaking confidently publicly.